Mafia Korean boss saw the nurse slap his pregnant wife. What he did will shock you. The slap sounded like a gunshot in the quiet hospital room. Amara could not breathe. Her cheek burned with a hot, stinging pain. Her eyes filled with tears, making everything look blurry. The pain in her belly, the contraction that had been hurting her for 3 minutes, suddenly felt like nothing. The shock was too big. She stared at the woman standing over her bed. This was the nurse. The person who was supposed to help her. The person who was supposed to help bring her baby into the world. But when Amara looked into the nurse's eyes, she saw only cold hate. "Stop being so dramatic," Nurse Park said. Her voice was sharp and mean. "Women have been having babies for thousands of years. You are not special." Amara's hand shook as she touched her face. The room felt like it was spinning. Another wave of pain was coming from her belly. It felt like a giant wave about to crash on her. But she could not focus on the baby. All she could think about was the slap. This woman had just hit her. She hit a pregnant woman who was all alone. "Please," Amara whispered.
Her voice was weak.
"Please, I just need—" "You need to be quiet," Nurse Park interrupted her. She turned away slowly to look at a machine. She did not care that Amara was crying. "Your husband's money does not buy you the right to disturb everyone on this floor." Those words hurt more than the slap. Amara knew what people said about her. She was foreign. She was black. And she was married to Kong Min-ho. Min-ho was a man that everyone in the city of Seoul feared. When they walked down the street, people bowed to him, but they looked at her like she did not belong. The pain in her belly got worse. Amara cried out and grabbed the metal rails of the bed. Nurse Park did not move to help. Outside the window, the rain was hitting the glass hard. It was a dark, stormy night. Amara looked at her phone on the table. The screen was black. It was dead. She had been trying to call Min-ho for 2 hours. Every time, it went to voicemail. He had promised to be here. He promised. But now, she was alone with a woman who hated her. Before we see what happens next, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. This is the most important aspect of the story. But to understand how this nightmare started, we have to go back to earlier that day. 3 days ago, Min-ho had brought Amara to the Royal Summit Hospital. It was the best hospital in the city. The VIP wing was on the 7th floor. It was very private. There were no other patients there. It was supposed to be the safest place for his queen and his princess. Min-ho was a man who never showed fear. He was the head of the Golden Dragon organization. Men twice his size would shake when he walked into a room. But when he looked at Amara, his eyes were soft. He treated her like she was made of glass. "I have to go, just for a few hours," Min-ho had told her, kissing her forehead. He looked worried. "There is one last meeting. One last deal to make sure our family is safe forever. Once I sign these papers, we are out. No more danger. Just us and the baby." "Do you have to go?" Amara had asked, holding his hand. She had a bad feeling in her stomach, and it wasn't the baby. "I must," Min-ho said. "If I don't go, the Wolf clan will think I am weak. They will try to take everything. I will be back before the baby comes. I promise." He left his best guard, Dongwook, outside her door. But hours later, a nurse had come out and told Dongwook that he could not stand there because of hospital policy. She made him wait down in the lobby. That was the first mistake. Now, Amara was alone in the room. The contractions were getting closer together. The pain was like a fire in her lower back. "Water." Amara gasped when the pain stopped for a moment. "Please, can I have water?" Nurse Park looked at her with a face full of disgust. "You can wait. I have other patients who actually need me." Amara tried to sit up. "There is no one else on this floor," she said. Her voice was stronger now. "I heard the staff talking. The other rooms are empty tonight." Nurse Park's jaw went tight. For a second, something very dangerous flashed in her eyes. It was a look that made Amara's heart beat fast with fear. It wasn't just mean, it was crazy. Nurse Park smiled, but it was not a nice smile. It was cold and sharp. Then I suppose you will have plenty of time to think about how lucky you are, she said softly. To have everything you have. To take what does not belong to you. Before Amara could say anything, Nurse Park walked out of the room. She let the heavy door swing shut.
Click.
The sound was hollow and loud. Then came another sound. The sound of a key turning. Amara stared at the door. Her mind could not understand what was happening. This could not be real. This was a hospital. An expensive, fancy hospital that Minho paid millions for. Nurses did not lock women inside rooms. Nurses did not hit their patients. Another contraction started to build. This one was stronger than the last. Amara screamed. She screamed for help. She screamed for her husband. But the only answer was the thunder crashing outside and the silence of the empty hallway. She was trapped. Across the city, in a dark warehouse that smelled of old fish and gasoline, Minho sat at a metal table. Opposite him were 3 men from the Wolf clan. These men wanted to kill him. They didn't show it, of course. They smiled and bowed. They offered him expensive whiskey. But Minho had been a boss for a long time. He could see the truth. He saw the way their hands stayed close to their jackets. He saw the sweat on their foreheads. "We appreciate you coming personally, Mr. Kong," the leader of the Wolf clan said. He slid a paper contract across the table. "This is a delicate situation." Minho did not look at the paper. He kept his eyes on the leader. "It is only delicate if one of us plans to break our word," Minho said quietly. The leader's smile did not change. "Of course. We are men of honor." Minho's phone buzzed in his pocket.
BZZZT, BZZZT.
He ignored it. He had been ignoring it for the past hour. In his world, if you look at your phone during a meeting, you look weak. If you look distracted, you get killed. He told himself that Amara was fine. She was at the best hospital. She had doctors and nurses. She would understand. This meeting was for her. The phone buzzed again. And again. BZZT, BZZZT. The Wolf clan leader looked at Minho's pocket. "Do you need to take that?" he asked. His eyes were mocking. "No," Minho said. He picked up a pen. "Let's finish this." He was just about to sign his name when the heavy metal door of the warehouse burst open.
Bang.
Dongwook, his head of security, stood in the doorway. He was breathing hard. There was blood on his knuckles. He looked wild. The 3 guards who were supposed to be watching the door were gone. The Wolf clan men reached for their guns inside their jackets. But they froze when Dongwook raised his empty hands. "Boss," Dongwook shouted. "It's your wife." Everything else in the room disappeared for Minho. The contract, the threat, the guns, the money. It was all gone. He stood up so fast his chair fell over. "What happened?" Minho asked. His voice was low and scary. "She has been trying to reach you," Dongwook said. "The hospital called my private number when yours didn't answer. There's a problem. A big problem." Minho didn't ask for permission to leave. He didn't say sorry to the Wolf clan. He didn't explain. He simply turned his back on 3 men with guns and walked toward the door. "If you leave now," the Wolf clan leader shouted, standing up, "the deal is off. We will take everything." Minho stopped. He turned his head slightly. The look in his eyes was like a demon. "If anything happens to her," he said, "I will burn this entire city to the ground, and I will start with you." He walked out into the rain. He jumped into his black car. "Drive," he yelled at his driver. Royal Summit Hospital.
Now.
Minho pulled out his phone. He saw 20 missed calls. All from Amara. Guilt twisted in his chest like a knife. He called the hospital main line. He screamed at the person who answered until they put him through to the administrator. "Mr. Kong, your wife is in active labor," the administrator said nervously. "She has been asking for you." "I am 10 minutes away," Minho said. "Who is with her?" "The head nurse on the VIP floor. Nurse Park." "I want a doctor with her now," Minho demanded. "Right now." "Sir, Nurse Park is very experienced." "I didn't ask about her experience," Minho roared. "I want a doctor in that room in 5 minutes, or I will tear that building apart brick by brick." The line went dead. Minho stared at his phone. He felt sick. He had promised her he would be there. He had promised she wouldn't do this alone. Back at the hospital, the pain was blinding. Amara was curled up on her side. She was crying into her pillow. She felt so weak. She heard the lock on the door click open. Hope rushed into her heart. "Min-ho," she whispered. But it wasn't Min-ho. It was Nurse Park again. She walked in slowly. She was holding a small tray with a silver syringe on it. She locked the door behind her again. "You are making too much noise," Nurse Park said. Her eyes were empty and dark. "I told you to be quiet. Since you won't listen, I have to make sure you behave." "What is that?" Amara asked, trying to push herself away. "I don't want that. Where is the doctor?" "The doctor's busy," Nurse Park said. She stepped closer to the bed. "And your husband isn't coming. He doesn't care about you. If he cared, he would be here." "That's not true," Amara cried. "It is true," Nurse Park said. She picked up the syringe. "He is a monster. He ruins people's lives. And now, you're going to pay for his sins." Amara tried to reach for the call button on the bed, but Nurse Park grabbed her wrist. Her grip was strong, hurting Amara's arm. "No one is coming," Nurse Park hissed. She raised the needle. "It's just you and me." Amara screamed as a massive clap of thunder shook the whole building, drowning out her voice. She was trapped in a soundproof room with a woman who wanted to hurt her, and her husband was miles away in the rain. Amara stared at the silver needle in Nurse Park's hand. The liquid inside was clear, but to Amara, it looked like poison. Her heart was beating so fast it felt like a bird trapped in a cage. She tried to push herself backward on the bed, but there was nowhere to go. The wall was cold against her back. The pain in her belly came again, a sharp twisting feeling that made her gasp for air, but she could not close her eyes. She had to watch the needle. "What are you doing?" Amara cried out. Her voice was shaking. "You are a nurse. You are supposed to help people. You took an oath." Nurse Park laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound that had no happiness in it. She took a step closer to the bed. The lightning outside lit up her face, making her look like a ghost. "I took an oath to help humans," Nurse Park said quietly. "Not monsters. And not the family of monsters." "My husband is not a monster," Amara screamed. She tried to be brave, but her hands were trembling. "He is a businessman. He protects people." "Protects?" Nurse Park spat the word out like it tasted bad. "Is that what you call it?" "My husband, Junho, worked for your husband's shipping company for 20 years. He was a good man. He worked hard. He came home late every night just to make sure the cargo was safe." "And what did your husband do?" Amara shook her head. Tears were running down her face now. "I don't know," she sobbed. "I don't know your husband." "Exactly," Nurse Park said. Her voice got louder. "You don't know. You sit in your big house with your expensive clothes and your jewelry, and you don't know who pays for it. My husband made one mistake. One small mistake with the inventory numbers. And your husband, the great Kong Min-ho, fired him. He didn't just fire him. He blacklisted him. He made sure no one else in Seoul would hire him. We lost our house. We lost our car. My husband, he lost his mind." Nurse Park's hand was shaking now, too. The needle moved up and down. "I am sorry," Amara whispered. "I truly am sorry. But please, don't hurt my baby. My baby has done nothing to you." "The apple does not fall far from the tree," Nurse Park said coldly. "This baby will grow up to be just like him. A predator. A destroyer. Unless I stop it." She lunged forward. Amara screamed and threw her hand out. She knocked the metal tray off the side table. It crashed to the floor with a loud clang. A glass of water shattered. Nurse Park paused, looking at the mess. That split second gave Amara a chance. She grabbed the call button for the nurse station again and pressed it over and over and over. "Stop that," Nurse Park shouted. She dropped the needle on the bed and grabbed Amara's wrist. Her fingernails dug into Amara's skin. She twisted Amara's arm until Amara dropped the remote. "I told you no one is coming. I turned off the alarms at the main desk before I came in here. The night shift is short-staffed. The other nurses are on the 3rd floor dealing with an emergency I created. A small fire in the trash can. Very distracting. Amara realized then that this was not just a sudden burst of anger. This was planned. Nurse Park had been waiting for this moment. She had been waiting for Minho to leave. Please, Amara begged, clutching her belly as another contraction hit her hard. The baby is coming. I can feel it. Please, just let me deliver my baby. Nurse Park picked up the needle again. Oh, you will deliver, she said softly. But first, you need to sleep. This will just slow your heart down. Just a little. Just enough to make sure you don't fight back when the real pain starts. Outside in the city, the storm was getting worse. The wind was howling through the streets of Seoul. Minho's black car was tearing down the highway. The tires splashed through deep puddles, sending water spraying onto the sidewalks. Faster. Minho yelled from the back seat. The driver, a young man named Ji-hoon, was gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles were white. Boss, I am going 140 kilometers per hour. The rain is too heavy. I can't see. I don't care if you have to drive with your eyes closed. Minho roared. He leaned forward and punched the back of the driver's seat. My wife is in that hospital alone. If we are not there in 5 minutes, you will wish you had crashed this car. Minho felt a fear he had never felt before. He had been shot at.
He had been stabbed.
He had been kidnapped. None of that scared him. But the thought of Amara alone, in pain and unprotected, made his blood turn to ice. He looked at his phone again. Still no answer. He dialed the number for the hospital director. Not the administrator, but the man who owned the entire building. A man Minho had helped get elected to the city council. The phone rang 4 times. Hello? Mr. Kong? A sleepy voice answered. Director Choi, Minho said. His voice was low, but it vibrated with rage. You have 60 seconds to listen to me. Mr. Kong? It is 2 a.m. What is the... My wife is in your VIP wing. Minho cut him off. I am trying to reach her. No one is answering. The nurse is refusing to let me speak to a doctor. If I arrive at your hospital and I find a single scratch on my wife, I will destroy your life. I will release the photos of you and the money laundering. I will bury you. There was silence on the other end. Then the sound of movement. I am calling the floor right now, Mr. Kong. I am calling security. Please calm down. I am done being calm, Minho said. He hung up. The car swerved to avoid a truck that had skidded on the wet road. Ji-hoon cursed and spun the wheel. The black car drifted sideways, the back end sliding toward the guardrail. For a second, Minho thought they were going to flip. He braced himself against the door. But Ji-hoon regained control and slammed on the gas again. Good save, Minho grunted. Don't slow down. They were getting closer. He could see the lights of the Royal Summit Hospital in the distance. It looked like a beacon of safety. But Minho knew better. Nowhere was safe. Not really. He had brought enemies into his life, and now those enemies were circling his family. He thought about the day he met Amara. She was an art student from Nigeria, studying in Seoul. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know about the gangs or the money or the violence. She just saw a lonely man sitting in a park. She had offered him half of her sandwich. That kindness had saved his soul. He had spent the last 2 years trying to be worthy of her. He tried to make his business legitimate. He tried to wash the blood off his hands. But blood stains deep. We are here, boss, Ji-hoon said. The car screeched to a halt in front of the main glass doors of the hospital. Before the wheels even stopped moving, Minho kicked the door open. He stepped out into the pouring rain. His expensive suit was soaked in seconds. He didn't feel the cold. He only felt the fire in his chest. He stormed toward the entrance. The automatic doors slid open. A security guard, an older man who was half asleep, stood up from his desk. Sir, visiting hours are over, the guard said, holding up a hand. You cannot. Minho did not slow down. He grabbed the guard by the collar of his uniform and lifted him off the ground. Where is the elevator to the VIP floor? Minho growled. The guard's eyes went wide. He saw the look on Minho's face. It was the face of a tiger. That way, the guard stammered, pointing a shaking finger. But you need a pass key. Min-ho dropped the guard. I don't need a key. He walked to the elevators. There was a keypad on the wall next to the silver doors. It required a code or a card. Min-ho looked at it. He didn't have time to guess the code. He stepped back and kicked the metal panel with the heel of his shoe. The plastic shattered. He kicked it again. Wires sparked. Hey, stop. Another guard was running over from the other side of the lobby. He had his hand on his baton. Min-ho turned. He didn't raise his voice. He just looked at the man. My name is Kong Min-ho. My wife is on the 7th floor. Someone is hurting her. If you try to stop me, you will not go home to your family tonight. The guard stopped. He knew the name. Everyone in Seoul knew the name. He slowly took his hand off his baton and stepped back. I will call the police, sir. But I won't stop you. Call them, Min-ho said. I want witnesses. The elevator doors wouldn't open because he had broken the panel. Min-ho looked at the stairs. 7 floors. He muttered to himself. Fine. He started to run. He took the stairs 2 at a time. His lungs burned, but he pushed harder. 1st floor. 2nd floor. 3rd floor. He could hear the commotion on the 3rd floor that Nurse Park had talked about. Nurses running around, the smell of smoke. She had been telling the truth. She had created a diversion. 4th floor. 5th floor. Min-ho's legs felt heavy, but he forced them to move. He imagined Amara's face. He imagined her smile. He imagined her pain. 6th floor. 7th floor. He burst through the door of the stairwell into the VIP corridor. It was silent. The silence was worse than the screaming. The hallway was long and white and empty. The lights buzzed softly overhead. There were expensive paintings on the walls and soft carpets, but it felt like a tomb. Amara, Min-ho shouted. His voice echoed down the hall. There was no answer. He ran to the nurse's station. It was empty. The computer screen was on, showing a list of patients. There was only one name on the list, Amara Kong. Room 704. Min-ho ran down the hall. Room 701. Room 702. Room 703. He reached room 704. The door was closed. He grabbed the handle and twisted it. Locked. Amara, he yelled, pounding on the wood. Amara, I am here. Open the door. Inside the room, Amara heard him, but she couldn't answer. Her vision was swimming. Nurse Park had not used the needle yet, but she had covered Amara's mouth with heavy medical tape. Amara was tied to the bed rails with gauze. She was thrashing, trying to make noise, trying to kick the bed, but she was exhausted. Nurse Park stood by the door. She heard Min-ho shouting. She smiled. He is here, Nurse Park whispered to Amara. Just in time to hear you die, but too late to save you. She moved the heavy dresser in front of the door to block it. Then she turned back to Amara. Now, Nurse Park said. Let's finish this. Outside, Min-ho stepped back. He knew he couldn't break a hospital door easily. They were heavy and fireproof. He looked around for something to use. He saw a fire extinguisher in a glass case on the wall. He punched the glass. It shattered, cutting his knuckles, but he didn't care. He grabbed the heavy red canister. Amara, get away from the door, he shouted. He swung the fire extinguisher with all his strength. Bam! The wood splintered near the handle. Bam! The lock twisted, but the door didn't open. It was blocked from the inside. Open this door. Min-ho roared. I swear to God, I will kill you. From inside, he heard a muffled sound. It sounded like a whimper. It was the sound of someone who had given up hope. That sound broke Min-ho's heart into a million pieces. No, he whispered. No, no, no. He threw the extinguisher down and backed up all the way to the opposite wall. He focused all his energy, all his rage, all his love. He ran at the door and threw his shoulder into it. Crack. The door frame gave way. The dresser on the other side scraped across the floor with a loud screech. The door opened a few inches. Min-ho pushed his arm through the gap. He shoved the door harder, fighting against the weight of the furniture. He squeezed his body through the opening. What he saw made his blood stop moving in his veins. The room was dark, lit only by the lightning from the window. Amara was tied to the bed, her eyes wide with terror, tears soaking the tape over her mouth. Nurse Park was standing over her, the needle raised high, ready to plunge it into Amara's foreline. Nurse Park looked at Minho. She didn't look scared. She looked like she had won. "One step," Nurse Park warned, her thumb resting on the plunger of the syringe. "One step, and I push this. It will stop her heart in 10 seconds. Minho froze. He was a man who could kill with his bare hands. He was a man who controlled an empire. But right now, he was helpless. He stood 10 feet away from the woman he loved, and death was holding a needle an inch from her arm. "Don't do this," Minho said. His voice was shaking. He held up his hands. "Please. Take me.
Kill me.
Let her go." "You deserve to live," Nurse Park said with a cruel smile. "You deserve to live a long, miserable life knowing that you caused this. You killed them." "Wait," Minho shouted. "Your husband. I can fix it. I can give him his job back. I can give you $10 million. Anything. Just put the needle down." "Money." Nurse Park laughed. "You think money fixes everything? My husband hanged himself 3 days ago." Minho's eyes widened. He didn't know. Nobody had told him. "I have nothing left," Nurse Park said, tears finally falling from her crazy eyes. "And neither will you." She moved her hand. Minho didn't think. He didn't plan. He just moved. He lunged forward, diving across the room like a bullet. Nurse Park slammed the needle down. Amara squeezed her eyes shut. Minho's hand caught Nurse Park's wrist just as the needle touched the skin of Amara's arm. But the momentum was too much. They both crashed into the bed. The force of the impact knocked the bed sideways. The machines beeped wildly. Minho and Nurse Park rolled onto the floor. Nurse Park was strong. She was fueled by madness. She kicked Minho in the stomach and scrambled up. She still had the needle. "Get off," she screamed. She swung the needle at Minho's neck. Minho dodged, but the tip of the needle scratched his cheek, drawing a line of blood. He grabbed her arm again and twisted it behind her back. He slammed her into the wall. "Dongwook," Minho shouted, hoping his security had followed him up the stairs. But he was alone. Nurse Park bit his hand, sinking her teeth deep into his flesh. Minho yelled in pain and loosened his grip. She broke free. She didn't run for the door. She ran back to the bed. Back to Amara. "No!" Minho screamed. He tackled her again, grabbing her by the ankle. Nurse Park fell face first onto the floor, but she crawled forward, clawing at the linoleum. She reached up and grabbed the 4-tube connected to Amara's arm. She yanked it hard. Amara cried out behind the tape as the 4 was ripped out of her vein. Blood sprayed onto the white sheets. Minho climbed on top of Nurse Park. He wrapped his hands around her throat. He wanted to squeeze. He wanted to end her. But then he heard a sound that stopped the world. A distinct, wet gush of water. Then a low, guttural moan from the bed. Amara wasn't just in pain. She was crowning. The baby was coming.
Right now.
In the middle of a fight. In a room full of blood and violence. Minho looked at the nurse beneath him, who was gasping for air. Then he looked at his wife. He couldn't kill the nurse and save the baby at the same time. He had to choose. He slammed the nurse's head against the floor, knocking her unconscious. She went limp. He scrambled up and ran to the bed. He ripped the tape off Amara's mouth. "Minho," she wailed. "The baby. Something is wrong. I can't feel the baby moving." Minho looked down. There was too much blood. It wasn't just from the 4. The stress, the trauma, the violence, it had caused something to rupture. "Amara, stay with me," Minho said, grabbing her face. "Look at me. Save her," Amara whispered, her eyes rolling back in her head. "Save Nari. Please." Her head fell back onto the pillow. Her eyes closed. Her hand went limp in his. The heart monitor, which had been beeping fast, suddenly changed its rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. It was slowing down. "Amara? Amara?" Minho shook her. She didn't wake up. He checked for pulse. It was faint, fading. He was alone in a wrecked room, with an unconscious killer on the floor, a wife dying in the bed, and an unborn child stuck inside her. There were no doctors, no nurses, just him. Minho screamed for help, a sound of pure agony that shook the walls. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of the heart monitor was the loudest thing in the world. It was slower than before, much slower. Each beep was a countdown, ticking away the seconds of Amara's life. Minho fell to his knees beside the bed. The room was a mess of broken furniture, shattered glass, and blood. But Minho did not see the mess. He only saw his wife's face. She looked so pale. Her skin, usually warm and glowing, was now cold and gray. "Amara," Minho shouted. He grabbed her shoulders and shook her gently. "Wake up. You cannot leave me. You promised." There was no answer. Her head rolled to the side. Her chest was barely moving. Minho placed his hand on her neck to feel for a pulse. His own hands were shaking so bad that he couldn't tell if he felt her heartbeat or his own terrified pulse in his fingertips. Finally, he found it. It was weak, thready, like a candle flame about to go out in the wind. "Help!" Minho screamed toward the open door. "Someone help me." He looked at her stomach. It was hard as a rock. The baby.
Nari.
She was trapped inside. If Amara's heart stopped, the baby's oxygen would stop too. They would both die. Minho had faced armies. He had survived tortures. He had negotiated billion-dollar deals. But right now, he felt like a small, useless child. He didn't know what to do. He wasn't a doctor. He was a killer. And his skills were useless here. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the doorway. Minho spun around, his fists ready to fight. He thought it was another enemy. He thought the Wolf Clan had come to finish the job. But it was not a gangster. It was an older woman in blue scrubs. She had gray hair tied back in a bun and kind, sharp eyes. She was holding a clipboard, but she dropped it when she saw the room. This was Nurse Sujin. She was the head nurse of the night shift, the one who had been distracted by the fire on the 3rd floor. She had heard the screaming. "Oh my God," Nurse Sujin gasped. She looked at the unconscious Nurse Park on the floor, then at the blood on the sheets, and finally at Minho. For a second, she looked scared of Minho. He was covered in sweat and blood, and he looked wild. But then she looked at the patient. Her instincts took over. "Move," she commanded.
She didn't ask.
She ordered. She rushed to the bedside, pushing the feared mafia boss out of the way like he was nothing. "She is unresponsive," Minho said, his voice cracking. "The monitor, it is slow." Nurse Sujin didn't answer. She pulled a penlight from her pocket and checked Amara's eyes. She lifted the sheet and checked the bleeding. Her face went pale. "Placental abruption," Nurse Sujin whispered. "The placenta has pulled away from the wall of the uterus. She is bleeding out internally. The baby is losing oxygen." "Fix it," Minho yelled. "Do something. I cannot fix this with a bandage." Nurse Sujin snapped back. She was working fast, reconnecting the 4 line that Nurse Park had ripped out. "She needs an emergency C-section.
Right now."
We have to get her to the operating room." "The elevator," Minho said, his face falling. I broke the panel. The elevator won't open." Nurse Sujin stopped moving for 1 second. She looked at him with disbelief. "You did what?" "I had to get up here," Minho shouted. "I didn't have a key." "You fool," the nurse hissed. "We cannot carry a hemorrhaging pregnant woman down 7 flights of stairs. She will bleed to death before we reach the 3rd floor." "Then bring the doctors here." Minho grabbed the nurse's arm. "Call them. Tell them to bring the equipment. I will carry the equipment up the stairs myself, if I have to." Nurse Sujin grabbed the radio on her shoulder. "Code Blue. Code Blue. Room 704. Obstetric emergency. Dr. Lee, we need you immediately. The patient cannot be moved. Bring the crash cart and surgical kit." The radio crackled. "Copy that. We are on our way." Just then, Nurse Park stirred on the floor. She groaned and tried to sit up. Minho saw her move. The rage that exploded in his chest was blinding. This woman caused this. Because of her hate, his wife was dying. Min-ho took one step toward her. He wanted to stomp on her. He wanted to end her right there. "Don't you dare." Nurse Sujin shouted at him. "I need you here. Your wife needs you. If you kill her, you go to jail, and your daughter grows up with no parents. Is that what you want?" Min-ho froze. His fists were clenched, so tight his fingernails cut into his palms. He looked at the evil nurse, then at his dying wife. He chose his wife. He grabbed a roll of medical tape from the cart and threw it at Nurse Park. He quickly grabbed her hands and taped them together behind her back. He taped her ankles. He tore a strip of cloth from the ruined sheet and tied it around her mouth as a gag. "You will watch," Min-ho whispered into Nurse Park's ear. "You will watch me save them. And then, you will wish you had died." He pushed her into the corner of the room. "She is crashing," Nurse Sujin yelled. Min-ho spun back to the bed. The heart monitor was making a terrible sound. Beep. Beep. "Her blood pressure is dropping too low," Nurse Sujin said. She was squeezing a bag of fluids, trying to force them into Amara's veins faster. "Talk to her. Keep her with us." Min-ho grabbed Amara's cold hand. He kissed her fingers. They were limp. "Amara," he pleaded, "listen to me. You are the strongest woman I know. You left your country. You learned a new language. You tamed a beast like me.
Do not let this beat you. Fight.
Fight for Nari." Amara's eyelids fluttered. A small moan escaped her lips. "That's it." Min-ho encouraged her, tears streaming down his face, mixing with the blood. "Come back to me." Suddenly, the door to the hallway burst open. "Freeze! Police!" 3 police officers stood in the doorway with their guns drawn. They were pointing them straight at Min-ho. Because Min-ho had kicked the lobby guards and broken the elevator, the hospital had called the police. They didn't know about the baby. They didn't know about the evil nurse. All they saw was a notorious mafia boss, covered in blood, standing over a woman in a wrecked room, with another nurse tied up in the corner. "Drop your weapon," the lead officer shouted. He was shaking. He knew who Min-ho was. He was terrified. "I don't have a weapon," Min-ho yelled, not letting go of Amara's hand. "I am helping my wife." "Step away from the patient." "Put your hands on your head," the officer screamed. "Get on the ground."
Now.
"No," Min-ho roared. "She is dying. I am not leaving her." "I said get down." The officer stepped forward, his finger tightening on the trigger. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. If Min-ho moved, they would shoot. If they shot, they might hit Amara. If Min-ho surrendered, he couldn't help Amara. "You idiots!" Nurse Sujin stood up and blocked the police's view of Min-ho. She spread her arms wide. "Put those guns away. This woman is in labor and bleeding out. If you shoot, I will personally make sure you lose your badges." The officers hesitated. They looked at the old nurse. She was small, but she was fierce. "He is calm, Min-ho," the officer said. "He assaulted the guards downstairs. We have a report. I don't care if he is the devil himself." Nurse Sujin shouted. "Right now, he is a father. Get out of my way, or come help me hold pressure on this wound." Before the police could decide what to do, a man in a white coat ran into the room, breathless from running up 7 flights of stairs. It was Dr. Lee. Behind him were 2 other nurses carrying heavy bags of equipment. "What is going on here?" Dr. Lee shouted. He saw the guns. "Get those guns out of my operating room." The police lowered their weapons, but didn't leave. They stood by the door, watching Min-ho closely. Dr. Lee ran to the bed. He didn't ask questions. He looked at the monitor. He looked at the nurse. "Status." Dr. Lee barked. "Placental abruption. Fetal heart rate is 60 and dropping. Maternal BP is 70/40. Nurse Sujin reported quickly. "We cannot move her," Dr. Lee said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We have to deliver right here."
Now.
He looked at Min-ho. "Mr. Kong, you need to hold her shoulders. This is going to be messy. We don't have time for full anesthesia. We can only give her a local block. She might feel pressure. She might wake up in pain. You have to hold her down. Minho nodded. His face was set in stone. I got her. Dr. Lee pulled on sterile gloves. The other nurses quickly set up a sterile field on the bed. They threw blue drapes over Amara's legs. Scalpel, Dr. Lee said. Minho watched as the doctor brought the sharp blade to his wife's skin. He wanted to look away. He wanted to vomit. But he couldn't. He had to be her anchor. Amara, Minho whispered into her ear. It's almost over. Nari is coming. Dr. Lee made the incision. Blood welled up, bright red. Minho flinched, but he didn't let go of Amara's shoulders. Suddenly, Amara's eyes flew open. She gasped, a terrible, wet sound. The pain had cut through the fog of unconsciousness. Minho, she screamed. It hurts. It hurts. I know, baby, I know, Minho cried, leaning his forehead against hers. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Just a little longer. Hold her still, Dr. Lee shouted. I am at the uterus wall, Amara thrashed. Her body bucked on the bed. The pain was too much. Minho used his strength, the strength that had broken bones and doors, to gently but firmly hold the woman he loved more than life itself. Look at me, Minho commanded her. Look at my eyes. Do not focus on the pain. Focus on me. Amara stared at him. Her eyes were full of panic. Save her, she choked out. Save. I have the baby, Dr. Lee announced. Minho looked down. Dr. Lee reached into the incision. His hands disappeared inside Amara. He pulled. For a second, time stopped. The rain outside stopped. The thunder stopped. The police officers by the door held their breath. Nurse Park in the corner watched with wide eyes above her gag. Dr. Lee pulled the baby out. She was small. She was covered in blood and fluids. Her limbs were limp. She was purple. Time of birth, 2:42 a.m., a nurse called out.
But there was no cry.
Babies are supposed to cry. They are supposed to scream when the cold air hits their lungs. It is the best sound in the world. But Nari was silent. Dr. Lee quickly cut the cord and handed the baby to Nurse Sujin. No respiratory effort. Start resuscitation. Nurse Sujin took the baby to the warmer they had set up on the dresser. She put a tiny mask over the baby's face and started squeezing a small bag. Puff, puff, puff. Come on, little one, Nurse Sujin muttered. Breathe. Minho watched his daughter. She looked like a doll. A broken doll. Minho. Amara's voice was a whisper. He turned back to his wife. She was looking at the baby, too. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Is she okay? Amara asked. Minho couldn't lie. But he couldn't tell her the truth. She is beautiful, he said. She is perfect. Amara smiled. It was a weak, tired smile. Good, she whispered. Take care of them. Then, her eyes rolled back. The heart monitor, which had been beeping slowly, suddenly changed its tone. Instead of a beep, it became a long, high-pitched whine.
Beep.
We are losing her, Dr. Lee shouted. She is flatlining. Get the paddles. Charge to 200. No. Minho screamed. Amara. No. Clear. Dr. Lee yelled. He pressed the paddles to Amara's chest. Thump. Amara's body jumped off the bed. Minho watched, horrified. The line on the monitor stayed flat. Charge to 300. Dr. Lee ordered. Come on, Amara. Don't do this. Clear. Thump. Still flat. In the corner, Nurse Sujin was still working on the baby. Come on, she was saying, rubbing the baby's chest vigorously. Breathe. Please breathe. Minho was standing between them. To his left, his wife was dead. To his right, his daughter was not breathing. His world had ended. He looked at his hands. They were covered in Amara's blood. He looked at the police officers, who had lowered their guns completely and taken off their caps in respect. They thought it was over. One more time, Dr. Lee shouted.
He was sweating.
Charge to 360. Doctor, she has been down for 2 minutes, a nurse said softly. The blood loss. I said charge it. Dr. Lee roared. Clear. Thump. Min-ho fell to his knees. He grabbed Amara's limp hand. He buried his face in the sheets. He let out a sound that wasn't human. It was the sound of a wolf whose pack had been slaughtered. "Don't leave me," he sobbed. "I will give anything. Take my money.
Take my empire. Take my life.
Just come back." And then a sound cut through the silence. It was faint. It sounded like a kitten mewing. Min-ho lifted his head. He looked at the warmer. Nari kicked her tiny leg. Her chest heaved. And then she opened her mouth and let out a loud, angry cry.
Wah.
Wah. She is breathing. Nurse Sujin cried out, laughing and crying at the same time. She is breathing. The baby is alive. Min-ho's heart slammed against his ribs. His daughter was alive. But his wife. He looked back at the monitor. The flat line flickered. Just once. A tiny spike. Then another.
Beep.
Silence.
Beep.
Silence. Beep.
Beep. Beep.
Sinus rhythm. Dr. Lee shouted, checking the pulse on Amara's neck. "We have a pulse. It is weak, but it is there. We need to get her to surgery to stop the bleeding now. We have stabilized her enough to move. Let's go."
Move.
Move. The room exploded into action. The nurses grabbed the bed. Dr. Lee grabbed the 4 bags. They rushed toward the door. "Get out of the way." Min-ho yelled at the police officers. He grabbed the front of the bed and helped push it. They ran down the hallway toward the service elevator at the back of the hospital that wasn't broken. Min-ho ran alongside the bed, holding Amara's hand, while Nurse Sujin ran behind them carrying the crying baby Nari. Min-ho looked at his wife's face. She was still unconscious, but she was alive. She had come back. As they reached the elevator, Min-ho stopped. He turned to the police officers who were following them. "That woman in the room," Min-ho said, pointing back toward room 704 where Nurse Park was tied up. "She tried to murder my family. Do not let her go. If she escapes, I will find her. And if I have to find her." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The look in his eyes promised a hell that no prison could match. The elevator doors closed, taking Min-ho, Amara, and Nari down to the operating room. Min-ho slumped against the metal wall of the elevator. He looked at his daughter in Nurse Sujin's arms. Nari was looking at him with wide, dark eyes. She had his eyes. "We did it," Min-ho whispered. "We are still here." But as the elevator descended, Min-ho knew the war wasn't over. Nurse Park had said something before she attacked. She said her husband had been fired because of Min-ho. But Min-ho knew he hadn't fired anyone named Junho recently. He let his managers handle personnel. Someone had lied to Nurse Park. Someone had set this up. Someone had wanted Nurse Park to kill Amara. This wasn't just a crazy nurse. This was a hit. And Min-ho knew exactly who to ask. Cliffhanger. Just as the elevator doors opened on the surgical floor, Min-ho's phone buzzed in his pocket. It was his head of security, Dong-wook. Min-ho answered it as they wheeled Amara out. "Dong-wook, get to the hospital. Bring the men." "Boss," Dong-wook's voice sounded strange. "I am at the warehouse. We found something. The Wolf Clan leader, he is dead." "What?" Min-ho frowned. "I didn't kill him. I left." "I know," Dong-wook said. "Someone else killed him. And boss, we found a recording on his phone. A phone call he made right before you arrived." "Who was he talking to?" Min-ho asked. "He was talking to your brother," Dong-wook said. Min-ho stopped walking. The gurney continued down the hall without him. "My brother is in America," Min-ho said slowly. "He has been there for 5 years." "No, boss," Dong-wook said. "He is back. And, according to this recording, he is the one who paid Nurse Park to kill your wife." Min-ho dropped the phone. The screen cracked on the cold hospital floor. His own brother. The only family he had left besides Amara. The game had just changed. It wasn't about business anymore. It was a civil war. Min-ho stood in the sterile white hallway of the surgical floor. His phone lay on the ground. The screen cracked like a spiderweb. The words his head of security, Dong-wook, had said were still ringing in his ears. "Your brother. He is the one who paid Nurse Park. Minho felt like the floor was moving beneath his feet. He leaned against the wall and slid down until he was sitting on the cold tiles. He put his head in his hands. His hands were still stained with Amara's blood. His brother, Kong Tae-soo. They had grown up together. They had fought on the playgrounds together. When their father died, Minho had taken over the business, and Tae-soo had gone to America to study. Minho had sent him money every month. He had paid for his cars, his house, his expensive lifestyle. He thought he was taking care of his little brother. But all that time, Tae-soo was sharpening a knife. The elevator doors opened, and Dong-wook ran out. He was followed by 10 men in black suits. These were Minho's elite guards. They looked scary, but right now, they looked worried about their boss. "Boss," Dong-wook said, kneeling beside Minho. He handed him a new phone and a wet towel. "We have secured the floor. No one comes in or out without our permission. The police are guarding the lobby, but my men are guarding the elevators and the stairs." Minho wiped his hands slowly. The red stains turned pink on the white towel. "Where is he?" Minho asked.
His voice was quiet, dead.
"We tracked the signal from the recording," Dong-wook said. "He is at the old iron foundry in the industrial district. He has a lot of men with him, boss. Mercenaries. Not local gangsters. These guys are professionals." Minho stood up. The sadness in his eyes was gone. It was replaced by a cold, hard fire. "He chose the foundry? That is where our father taught us how to shoot." "It is a trap, boss," Dong-wook warned. "He wants you to come there. He knows you are angry. He wants you to be reckless." "I am not reckless," Minho said, adjusting his suit jacket. "I am focused." Just then, the double doors of the operating room swung open. Dr. Lee walked out. He looked exhausted. His surgical cap was in his hand. Minho rushed to him. "My wife." Dr. Lee took a deep breath. "She is alive." Minho let out a breath he had been holding for an hour. "Thank God." "But," Dr. Lee continued, raising a hand, "she is in a coma. We stopped the bleeding, but she lost a lot of blood. Her body went into shock. We don't know when she will wake up. It could be days. It could be longer." Minho looked through the small glass window of the recovery room. He saw Amara lying in a bed, hooked up to a dozen machines. She looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. But the tubes and wires told a different story. "Can I see her?" Minho asked. "For a moment," Dr. Lee said. "But she needs rest. And Mr. Kong, you have a visitor." Nurse Sujin walked out of a nearby room. In her arms was a small bundle wrapped in a pink blanket. "She has been cleaned up," Nurse Sujin said softly. She held the baby out to Minho. Minho hesitated. He looked at his large, dangerous hands. Then he looked at the tiny bundle. Gently, he reached out and took his daughter. She was so light. She smelled like soap and baby powder. Her eyes were closed, and her tiny chest moved up and down with soft breaths. She had a full head of black hair, just like Minho, but her nose was cute and button-like, just like Amara's. "Nari," Minho whispered. "My little Lily." The baby shifted in her sleep. Her tiny hand reached out and grabbed Minho's thumb. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Minho looked at Dong-wook. "Look at her. She fought to be here. She almost died before she took her first breath." "She is a fighter, boss," Dong-wook agreed. Minho looked back at the baby. "My brother tried to kill her. He tried to kill this innocent thing just to get to me." He kissed Nari's forehead and handed her back to Nurse Sujin. "Guard her with your life," Minho told the nurse. "If anyone who is not me or Dong-wook tries to touch her, you scream. My men are outside the door." "I will protect her," Nurse Sujin promised. "You go do what you have to do." Minho turned to Dong-wook. "Give me a gun." Dong-wook hesitated, then pulled a sleek black pistol from his holster and handed it to Minho. Minho checked the clip. It was full. "Stay here," Minho ordered Dong-wook.
"Boss."
Dong-wook looked shocked. "I am coming with you. You cannot go into a trap alone." "I need you here," Minho said firmly. "If I die tonight, Amara and Nari will be alone. They need you. You are the only one I trust to keep them safe." If I don't come back by sunrise, take them to the safe house in Jeju Island. Do not look for me. Boss. That is an order. Min-ho snapped. Then he softened. Please, brother. Protect my world. Dong-wook nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. I will. I promise. Min-ho took 5 of the other guards and headed for the elevator. He was going to war. But this time, it was a war against his own blood. The rain had stopped, but the streets of Seoul were wet and slick. Min-ho drove the car himself. He drove fast, but with precision. He didn't want to die in a car crash. He wanted to look his brother in the eye. The old iron foundry was a massive, rusted building on the edge of the river. It had been closed for 10 years. It looked like a skeleton of a giant beast against the night sky. Min-ho stopped the car at the front gate. He saw 2 men standing guard. They were holding assault rifles. They were not hiding. They were expecting him. Min-ho stepped out of the car. He held his hands up, showing he wasn't holding the gun yet. I am here to see Tae-soo, Min-ho shouted. The guards didn't shoot. One of them spoke into a radio. The heavy metal gate creaked open slowly. Min-ho walked in. His 5 guards followed him, their hands on their weapons. Inside the main factory floor, it was dim. Huge chains hung from the ceiling. In the center of the room, sitting on a wooden crate under a single spotlight, was a man. He was wearing a white suit that was too clean for this dirty place. He was smoking a cigarette. He looked just like Min-ho, but his eyes were different. Min-ho's eyes were intense. This man's eyes were laughing. Hello, big brother, Tae-soo said. He didn't stand up. You look terrible. Rough night. Why? Min-ho asked. He didn't scream. He walked closer until he was 10 feet away. Why did you do it? I gave you everything. I sent you millions. I made sure you were safe.
Tae-soo laughed.
He threw his cigarette on the ground and crushed it with his expensive shoe. You sent me scraps. You sat here in Seoul, sitting on the throne, being the king. And you sent me an allowance like I was a child. Here you go, little brother, go buy yourself a toy. I wanted the crown, Min-ho. I didn't want the allowance. So you try to kill my wife? Min-ho's voice trembled with rage. You try to kill an unborn baby? That is not a king's move. That is a coward's move. It was a strategic move, Tae-soo said, standing up. I knew Amara was your weakness. I knew if I hurt her, you would lose your mind. You would make mistakes. And look at you. You came here with only 5 men. I have 50. On the catwalks above them, shadows moved. Dozens of red laser dots appeared on Min-ho's chest. You really thought I hired Nurse Park just because she was crazy? Tae-soo smirked. I found her. I fed her lies about her husband. I gave her the poison. I turned her into a weapon.
It was beautiful, really.
Psychological warfare. Min-ho looked at the lasers on his chest. He knew he couldn't win a gunfight. Not like this. You killed the Wolf Clan leader, too, Min-ho said. To frame me? Exactly. Tae-soo clapped his hands. Now the Wolf Clan hates you. The police are looking for you because of the hospital assault. And I am here to be the hero. I will kill the crazy brother who lost his mind, and I will take over the Golden Dragon. The organization will thank me. You forgot one thing, Min-ho said softly. Oh, and what is that? I am not here to survive, Min-ho said. I am here to ensure you don't. Min-ho suddenly reached into his pocket. Don't move. Tae-soo screamed, pulling a gold-plated gun from his belt. The lasers on the catwalks all focused on Min-ho's head. Min-ho pulled out a remote control. A small, gray plastic box with a single red button. Tae-soo froze. What is that? Do you remember what father used to make here? Min-ho asked. Before it was an iron foundry during the war, it was a munitions depot. That was 50 years ago, Tae-soo scoffed. It's empty. It was empty, Min-ho corrected. Until I bought it back 3 years ago. I used the basement to store my excess C4 explosives. Tons of it. Right beneath our feet. Tae-soo's face went pale. The arrogant smile vanished. He looked at the floor, then back at Min-ho. You are lying, Tae-soo whispered. You wouldn't blow yourself up. You have a daughter now. You just said you wanted to live for her. I want to live for her, Minho said, his thumb hovering over the button. But I will die to protect her from you. If I walk out of here, you will never stop hunting them. You will try again. So, we end it here. Together. Minho took a step forward. Tell your men to drop their guns. Tae-soo looked panicked. He waved his hand at the men above. Don't shoot. If he drops that remote, we all die. The factory was silent. The only sound was the dripping of water from a leaky pipe. Drop them. Minho roared. Clatter.
Clatter. Clang.
Rifles fell from the catwalks onto the concrete floor. Kick your gun away, Minho told his brother. Tae-soo hesitated. He looked at the gold gun, then at Minho's crazy eyes. He kicked the gun across the floor. Okay, Tae-soo said, holding up his hands. Okay, Minho.
You win.
Let's talk. We are family. We can work this out. I will leave. I will go back to America. I will never come back. You lost the right to be family when you targeted my child, Minho said. Minho signaled to his 5 guards. They moved quickly, gathering the weapons and rounding up Tae-soo's men on the ground floor. Tie him up, Minho ordered, pointing at Tae-soo. 2 guards grabbed Tae-soo. He struggled, screaming. You can't do this. I am your brother. They forced him onto his knees. Minho walked over to him. He still held the detonator in one hand and his gun in the other. I am not going to kill you, Minho said. That is too easy. You wanted the business? You wanted the power? You can have the attention. What do you mean? Tae-soo spat. The police are on their way, Minho said. I called them 10 minutes ago. I told them I found the man who killed the Wolf Clan leader. I told them I found the man who orchestrated the hospital attack. I have the recording, Tae-soo. Dong-wook sent it to the police chief. You rat, Tae-soo screamed. Mafia don't call the police. I am not mafia anymore, Minho said. I am a father. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Blue and red lights flashed through the high windows of the factory. They will put you in a hole so deep you will never see the sun, Minho said. And every day, you will think about the mistake you made. Minho turned to walk away. He had won. He had disarmed the threat without blowing up the building. It was a bluff. There was no C4 in the basement. He had moved it months ago. But Tae-soo didn't know that. Fear was a powerful weapon. But as Minho walked toward the exit, a strange sound echoed through the factory. It was a slow, mechanical clapping. Clap, clap, clap. Minho stopped. He turned around. Tae-soo was on his knees, laughing. He was laughing hysterically. Why are you laughing? Minho asked, a bad feeling rising in his stomach. You think you are so smart, Tae-soo giggled. You think I am the only one? You think I did this all by myself? What are you talking about? Minho walked back to him and grabbed him by the collar. Who else? You checked the hospital, right? Tae-soo grinned, blood on his teeth. You secured the perimeter. You have guards at the door. You have Dong-wook. Yes, Minho said. But did you check the doctors? Tae-soo whispered. Minho's blood ran cold. Dr. Lee is a good man, Minho said. I trust him. Dr. Lee is a good man, Tae-soo agreed. But the anesthesiologist? Dr. Kim? The one who put your wife under for surgery? The one who is alone with her right now in the recovery room while everyone is watching the baby? Tae-soo leaned in close. He owes the Wolf Clan a lot of gambling money. I paid his debt yesterday. Minho dropped Tae-soo. He fumbled for his phone. He dialed Dong-wook. Pick up, Minho prayed. Pick up, pick up, pick up. Boss. Dong-wook answered. Did you get him? Go to Amara's room. Minho screamed, running toward his car. Check the anesthesiologist. Check Dr. Kim.
Now.
On it, Dong-wook shouted. Minho heard running footsteps on the other end of the line. Then, he heard a door crash open. Hey! Step away from her. Dong-wook yelled. Then a gunshot.
Bang.
Then silence. Dong-wook. Minho screamed into the phone. Dong-wook. There was no answer. Just the sound of a machine beeping frantically in the background. Beep, 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 beep. Tae-soo was laughing behind him. Checkmate, big brother. Even if I go to jail, you lose. Min-ho didn't look back. He jumped into his car and floored it. He had to get back to the hospital. But he knew, deep down, he might already be too late. Mafia Korean boss saw the nurse slap his pregnant wife. What he did will shock you.
Chapter 5.
Min-ho drove the car like a missile. He didn't care about red lights. He didn't care about the police sirens that were now following him. He only cared about the voice he had heard on the phone. The gunshot. The silence. The distance between the factory and the hospital was usually 20 minutes. Min-ho made it in 8. He screeched the car to a halt right in front of the emergency room entrance, blocking an ambulance. He jumped out before the engine stopped. His legs were shaking, but he forced them to run. He sprinted through the sliding doors, past the confused nurses, and toward the elevators. "Mr. Kong," a security guard shouted. "You can't go up there. The police have locked it down." Min-ho didn't stop. He vaulted over the turnstile. He hit the stairwell door with his shoulder and flew up the stairs. He had climbed these stairs before, just an hour ago, to save his wife from a nurse. Now he was climbing them to save her from a doctor. First floor. Second floor. His breath came in ragged gasps. His heart was hammering against his ribs like it wanted to break out. "Please," Min-ho prayed. He had never prayed before tonight. "Please let me be in time." He reached the surgical floor. He burst through the double doors. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. There were police officers at the end of the hall, near the elevators, but they were looking toward the recovery room with their weapons drawn. They looked confused. They looked scared. Min-ho ran past them. "Amara?" He reached the door of the recovery room. It was wide open. Min-ho skidded to a stop in the doorway. He prepared himself to fight. He prepared himself to kill. But what he saw made his knees go weak. The room was a mess. A tray of medical instruments was overturned on the floor. On the left side of the room, Dr. Kim, the anesthesiologist, was lying on the floor. He was clutching his leg. He was screaming silently, his face twisted in pain. There was a bullet hole in his thigh. On the right side of the room, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, was Dong-wook. Min-ho's head of security was holding his left shoulder. Blood was seeping through his fingers, staining his white shirt dark red. His face was pale, and he was sweating, but he was holding his gun steady. It was pointed directly at Dr. Kim's head. And in the bed, in the middle of the chaos, was Amara. She was still sleeping. The heart monitor next to her was beeping steadily. Beep, beep, beep. She was alive. She was safe. Min-ho let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He fell to his knees beside Dong-wook. "Boss," Dong-wook grunted, trying to smile. "You took too long. I had to handle it." "You are hurt," Min-ho said, pressing his hands over Dong-wook's wound to stop the bleeding. "He shot you." "He tried," Dong-wook coughed. "He came in with a syringe. He said it was just vitamins. But I saw his eyes, boss. He had the eyes of a liar. When I told him to step back, he pulled a small gun from his lab coat. I didn't know doctors carried guns these days. He shot me," Dong-wook continued, wincing. "But I shoot better. I put one in his leg." He dropped the needle. It shattered. Min-ho looked at the broken glass on the floor. There was a clear liquid mixed with the shards. Potassium chloride. If Dr. Kim had injected that into Amara's fore, her heart would have stopped instantly. It would have looked like a natural complication from the surgery. No one would have known. Min-ho looked at Dr. Kim. The doctor was whimpering now. "My brother paid you," Min-ho said. It wasn't a question. He said he would pay my debts," Dr. Kim cried. "I didn't want to. They made me." Min-ho stood up. He walked over to the doctor. He looked down at him like he was an insect. "You took an oath to save lives," Min-ho said quietly. "And you sold that oath for gambling money." Min-ho raised his foot. He wanted to stomp on the man's neck. He wanted to finish what Dong-wook started. "Boss," Dong-wook called out softly. "Don't." Min-ho froze. "Nari is watching," Dong-wook said. Min-ho turned. In the corner of the room, in a clear plastic bassinet, was his daughter. She was awake. Her big, dark eyes were looking right at him. She wasn't crying. She was just watching. Minho slowly lowered his foot. He took a deep breath. The rage didn't leave him, but he controlled it. He was a father now. He had to be better. Officers! Minho shouted toward the hallway. The police rushed in. They saw the scene, the wounded bodyguard, the shot doctor, the sleeping mother. Take this trash away, Minho said, pointing at Dr. Kim. He attempted to murder my wife. My man shot him in self-defense. You will find the weapon on him. You will find the poison on the floor. The police handcuffed the crying doctor and dragged him out. Medics rushed in to help Dongwook. I'm fine, Dongwook argued as they put him on a stretcher. It's just a scratch. Go, Minho ordered him gently. Get patched up. You saved my world tonight, brother. I owe you everything. As the room cleared out, silence returned. But this time, it was a peaceful silence. Minho walked to the bed. He pulled a chair close to Amara.
He took her hand. It was warmer now.
The color was returning to her cheeks. We made it, he whispered to her sleeping face. The war is over. 1 week later, the sun was shining brightly over Seoul. The storm from that terrible night felt like a bad dream. Minho stood by the window of the hospital room. He was wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, not his usual expensive suit. He looked younger, lighter. Amara was sitting up in bed. She looked tired but happy. She was holding Nari, who was wrapped in a soft yellow blanket. She looks like you, Amara said, stroking the baby's cheek. She has your stubborn eyebrows. Minho smiled. I hope she has your heart. My heart has too many scars. Your scars are healing, Amara said softly. You saved us, Minho. You fought the whole world for us. I almost lost you, Minho said, his voice serious. He sat on the edge of the bed. I thought about what you said, about wanting Nari to grow up safely. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. He placed them on the bedside table. What is this? Amara asked. It is a house, Minho said. In Jeju Island, near the beach. It has a big garden. No high walls. No electric fences. Just flowers and trees. And the business? Amara asked, looking into his eyes. Sold, Minho said. I signed the papers this morning. The shipping company, the warehouses, the foundry, all of it. I sold the assets to a legitimate corporation. The illegal parts, I dismantled them. The Golden Dragon is no more. Amara's eyes widened. But what will you do? Who are you without the empire? Minho looked at Nari. He reached out and let the baby grab his finger. I am a father, Minho said proudly. And I am a husband. That is enough. I have enough money saved. We can open that art gallery you always wanted. We can live quietly. And your brother? Amara asked. Minho's face hardened for a split second, then relaxed. Tae-soo is in a maximum security prison. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, and terrorism. He will never walk free again. Nurse Park and Dr. Kim are also in jail. Justice was served. Legal justice. The door opened and Dongwook walked in. His arm was in a sling, but he looked healthy. He was holding a giant teddy bear that was bigger than him. Uncle Dongwook. Amara cheered. I brought a bodyguard for the baby. Dongwook grinned, placing the bear in the corner. Since I am retiring. Retiring? Amara looked at Minho. Dongwook is coming to Jeju with us, Minho explained. But not as security. As family. He is going to help me learn how to fish. Dongwook laughed. The boss fishing? That I have to see. Don't call me boss, Minho said, smiling. Call me Minho. Amara looked at the 3 men in her life, her husband, her friend, and the memory of the son she hoped to have one day. Then she looked at her daughter. We are free, Amara whispered. Minho leaned in and kissed Amara deeply. It wasn't a desperate kiss like in the operating room. It was a promise of tomorrow, a promise of peace. He picked up Nari and walked to the window.
He looked out at the city of Seoul one last time.
He had ruled this city with fear for 10 years. But looking at the small bundle in his arms, he realized that power didn't come from money or guns. Power came from having something worth protecting. "Hello, world," Minho whispered to his daughter. "Be kind to her, or I will come back." He chuckled softly at his own joke, turning away from the window and the dark past behind it. He walked back to his wife, back to the light, ready to start the first day of the rest of his life. The nightmare was over. The dream had just begun.
The end.
Thank you so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed this emotional journey of love, betrayal, and redemption, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel to support our growth and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next amazing story. We have many more exciting tales coming soon. See you in the next video.